Noisemaker bearing 295. Fire control.
Today's review is going to be about a game called Cold Waters. Cold Waters is a game about being the pilot of a submarine in either single missions or the main way to play the game, the campaigns. One thing about Cold Waters is certain, and that's that there's a lot of content here for $40. There's single one-off missions that are great for anyone who is learning something. I'll be very upfront about it, that Cold Waters has a steep learning curve, and it's not a game for everybody. With that being said, we're going to jump into the main part of the review. The gameplay in this review is from one of 3 available campaigns. This campaign is the 1984 campaign, in which the Cold War gets hot. The chain of events that occur for this campaign are very believable, and it's something that could have easily happened in real life, and we're very lucky war didn't break out. So essentially, the little clips that you see as soon as you start the campaign are different little newspaper clippings that are basically showing you what's going on in the world and how the rising tensions between the Soviets and America. Well, eventually you find out that it leads to war breaking out, and after this, I don't know if it's before or after, I can't remember, you choose what submarine you are going to be the pilot of, and then after that you hop into the game, and then you're given different missions to do. You also, when you're at port, you can rearm your submarine and you can equip different kinds of weapons. You can kind of pick your favorites after a while, or if you're going on a specific mission, the game does a pretty good job of equipping you automatically. But if you're getting more advanced at the game, you could definitely outfit your own loadout to what you know works best for different situations. So one thing I really like about Cold Waters is it definitely gives you your own way to play. You could definitely do your own loadout and your own armament configurations after you get a little bit more advanced with the game. In between missions, there is an almost Total War-like map displayed that shows you how the war is going and where enemy ships and armies are currently deployed, and lets you identify where your next mission starts, whether it's in the North Atlantic Ocean or the Norwegian Sea. All that important information is shown here. It lets you see, if the NATO troops are doing well or if the Warsaw Pact is currently winning. And another really cool thing about Cold Waters is that you have a direct impact on the war. So you really do feel like more than just a submarine captain. You have a direct impact on the little newspaper clipping, stories that you get. So if you fail a mission, then it'll show in the newspaper clipping the, Warsaw Pact, maybe making a breakthrough in one of the seas. Or if you, successfully complete a mission, then it'll say, NATO troops get a big win, or something along those lines. So they really do a great job in Cold Waters, making it feel like your actions are very important. I'm happy to report that the gameplay in Cold Waters is superb. It's complex, deep, and mirrors 1980s submarine warfare perfectly. Your mission objectives are going to vary from mission to mission, and how you go about them are totally up to you. Want to try the perfect submarine mission where you get in, launch your torpedoes, and get out before anyone even realizes what happened? You could do that in Cold Waters. Want to go in guns blazing and launch 10 different missiles and torpedoes and throw stealth and caution to the wind? You can do that in Cold Waters. So every mission feels different. The AI is possibly the best I have ever seen in a video game. If your submarine starts to cavitate, or you make a knuckle, or you go too fast for the depth that you're at, or you launch a torpedo and it misses and that gets picked up on the enemy's sonar, the AI is fantastic at reading the situation and reacting to it. Never once have I felt the AI was using illegitimate tactics, or I was killed in a cheap way. Every time I died, I learned from it, and every time I died, it was usual. Once you finally do start to learn and master the mechanics in Cold Waters, there is nothing more satisfying than sinking enemy ships without even being detected, and then quietly slipping away. This is where, again, the steep learning curve comes in. You will die in Cold Waters while you learn the game, and that's not going to be the kind of experience that everybody wants. But if you're not put off about dying a lot, and you're willing to learn the intricacies of Cold Waters, then you'll find this game an incredibly rewarding experience. The graphics of Cold Water are amazing. The ocean looks fantastic and is insanely detailed. It's not running on the Frostbite engine or anything like that, but the game looks fantastic still. So do all of the ship models and submarine models in the game. Now, I'm going to start talking about some of the main gameplay elements. The main way that you take out an enemy vessel is with sonar, your different masts on your ship, and of course torpedoes once you've identified where the enemy is. You have 4 torpedo tubes, and each one can be loaded with different kinds of ammo based on the situation. Your sonar has 2 different types, 2 different modes, think of it as. There's active and passive sonar. Passive sonar doesn't make a lot of noise and can detect enemy ships slowly. Active makes a lot of noise, but it detects enemy ships very quickly. So once you find something on your sonar, it can be anything from, a missile cruiser to a blue whale. So you open up this thing called the Signatures tab and scroll through the known frequencies that Soviet ships make until they all line up all of the little, bars, and you've identified the ship. When you do eventually take damage, the game has a damage control tab, which you can select and tell your repair parties where to prioritize fixing systems. There is also a conditions tab, which will tell you how loud ambient noise is. The higher the noise, the better it is for submarines, as it's harder to hear sonar and other equipment. Also on this screen, it will show you how deep you are in the ocean, and where the ocean floor is, and where the thermal layer is, which generally if you're below the thermal layer, it's harder to detect a submarine. Once your solution, which is a combination of multiple factors, including sonar, whether the enemy is ID'd, how close they are, and other things reaches at least around 90, a calculated spot on the minimap will show up in blue, indicating where you should generally aim for, sinking the enemy ship, barring the enemy doesn't make a drastic change in course, or if they know that you are in the ocean. Obviously, if they know that you are there, they will be actively making evasive maneuvers to attempt to dodge any incoming torpedo. If everything goes right, and with a little bit of luck, you'll sink the enemy ship. When things aren't going so well, you also have multiple ways of dealing with that situation. If ships are on you and launch a special torpedo, which acts like a submarine to draw them away, you could drop a noise maker, which distracts them, or you could also move erratically. If there's a torpedo on your tail, and you really need it to get away from it, you can dodge, or create something called a knuckle in the water. This is done by steering hard to one side, and then steering hard to in the opposite direction, while at least 25 knots or above. So the game definitely gives you a ton of ways to handle different situations, and that's one of my favorite things about Cold Waters, is that they really give you many ways to handle different scenarios that might occur. And it never feels like the gameplay gets stale because there's an infinite number of things that can happen on any given mission. So it always keeps the game fresh, and it always keeps the game feeling like a real living world. And I really appreciate that about Cold Waters. So, my final verdict for Cold Waters is going to be a 10 out of 10. For what the game is, it is a fantastic game. It is definitely a must-buy for anyone who is a fan of insanely realistic submarine games. It's definitely not a game that's going to be for everyone, just due to the nature of the difficulty and the learning curve, but it is very realistic. It is very true to real submarine warfare. And if anyone out there is a big fan of submarine games or has been waiting for an insanely realistic game such as Cold Waters, I would highly recommend that you go out and buy it right away. For $40, you're getting a ton of content, 3 different campaigns, single missions, there's a solid tutorial. It's a must-buy. So, yeah, that's my final opinion, and I hope that you guys enjoyed this review. So, with that being said, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, smash that like button, and remember to hit subscribe. This has been Smith Gaming Hub, and I will see you guys next time.